Time to go live. Here we go live again. Our 5 p.m. live show. And hello, South Florida. Welcome to another edition, another beginning of the week here on the Real Estate Show. My name is Eric Willner. I am your host, and we are here live Monday through Friday. Each day, a brand new show, a live show, talking about the topics of real estate. The Real Estate Show, which has been in South Florida now for 22 plus years, through good times and through bad times. The Real Estate Show here is to give you all of the news, the information, and tips, tools, and strategies that you can use for your real estate investing. Whether you're buying your first home or your 21st home, the Real Estate Show is your source for all of your real estate needs. If you want to contact us, you can always give us a call at 888-595-7779. That's 888-595-7779. We are live here 5 days a week. Not only are we live at 5, but you can also listen to us 5 different ways: on the AM dial 1470, on the FM dial 96.9, 95.3, on the app for your smart devices. You can download one of the free apps. Just look for WWN Money Talk Radio. That's WWNN Money Talk Radio on the apps. And you can take us with you on the go. In fact, not only can you take us with you on the apps, you can listen and stream us live on our website, automaticlandlord.com. That's automaticlandlord.com. And you can also watch us and listen to us on the recordings. So, live or 24 hours on demand. Just check out automaticlandlord.com or go to our Facebook page at Facebook under The Real Estate Show. That's all one word, all put together, The Real Estate Show. If you don't have a Facebook page, doesn't matter. Just type in facebook.com/The Real Estate Show. And you got it. That's our fifth. And I don't know if it's going to be our final way, but it certainly is the fifth way to catch us there. Again, remember, we're live at 5, but always available on our website at automaticlandlord.com. So our Monday show, our Mondays on a Mission, is always about talking about the latest and greatest topics. And this week, I wanted to kind of switch from, the rent moratoriums to landlords and why I anticipate, with or without the moratoriums, being a landlord is something everybody should consider who can, right? And the old story, right? Everybody is in real estate. Either you're in real estate, you are the recipient of the checks, of the benefits of ownership, of the tax advantages, of the income, and so much more. Or you're on the real estate and you're the one writing those checks, either in the traditional way of writing your rent check, or going to work at your employer, where your employer makes the money in order to pay the rent. One way or the other, you're in real estate or on real estate. And this week, I want to spend time why being in real estate is so much more valuable in the short run, intermediate, medium term, and in the long run. And we're going to talk a little bit about some of the strategies, how you can get into and get in on the booming, particularly the booming single family rental market, without having enormous down payments. If you want to learn how to invest, then you're going to want to write down this week's keyword for our smart text line is landlord. And so all you have to do is type the word landlord, text it to 561-861-2366. That's 561-861-2366. And you're going to get our tip sheet on how to get started in the business of being a landlord. There's great long-term benefits. There's cash flow. There's tax advantages, and we're going to talk about those. In fact, I often like to use this acronym to remind people why real estate is not only a great investment, it's the ideal investment. And you can just remember this. I stands for the income, the monthly cash flow, spendable, right? This is not, in the future, clipping coupons, waiting for something to mature, a bond or a CD to mature. If you take it out early, you lose the entire benefit. in order to have the liquidity. And we're going to talk more about all the liquidity advantages as well. But it also allows you to reinvest or use that money to pay down the mortgage faster. Which brings us to another one of the benefits. But let me save that one for the E. The D for depreciation and all of the tax benefits. Real estate has more tax benefits than any other investment vehicle out there, period, exclamation point, no fine print, bar none. The real estate has everything from using it as a business and all the business write-offs that come along with it, and a whole host of real estate specific, from 1031 exchanges to depreciation in various different forms, from depreciating the building property, each individual component, even the content, not to mention a lot of other write-offs as well. So the D, we remind theirs, is depreciation. Then let's talk about the equity buildup. And like I just said, that cash flow coming in, you wouldn't buy it if it didn't have at least positive cash flow. And whatever that positive cash flow, if you don't need it to live on right now, reinvest it, pay down and accelerate the mortgage, and you'll be able to own that property faster, build equity, even in a flat market. Now, just imagine now, if you put the turbo on your mortgage, we're paying it down faster as the property is appreciating. Well, that takes us to the letter A in the word ideal, which is appreciation. So when you add together equity buildup and appreciation, you really start to see how, why all wealthy people in the United States have done a good portion of their wealth accumulation in real estate. There are more real estate millionaires than any other asset class out there in terms of sheer numbers. And it has been, through good times and bad times and long times, the best way to build wealth, develop and build a legacy to leave behind for your kids and future generations. In fact, there are generations that literally live off of the real estate created by their parents, their grandparents, their great-grandparents, and so forth. So, and to complete the word ideal, you've got L for leverage. And this is the fact that real estate allows you to control a large asset with a relatively small amount of money, i.e. a small down payment, leverage it with the right positive leverage using a mortgage, and then create cash flow. And now you've got a very interesting situation where you can build a portfolio much faster now. So these are the reasons. Just remember the ideal investment, the income, the depreciation taxes, equity, appreciation, as well as the leverage make real estate the ideal investment, and why you want to have a portfolio. And we're going to talk this entire week. We're going to talk tomorrow with our tools, tips, and techniques, how to get into real estate, even if you don't have a pile of money sitting around. I'm going to show you how to do that. We're going to talk about the automatic landlord process, and a way for you to be able to manage your properties without headaches and hassles. We're going to talk about where to find the money. I talked a little bit about the turbo your mortgage. And that's another technique that smart landlords are using in order to not only create better, bigger, faster equity in their properties, but to free up the access and liquidity in order to be able to buy more properties and then, of course, build the legacy that we're talking about. So we're going to talk about a whole bunch of things this week. Normally on Mondays, we start talking about the agenda for the week. And that's what I want to leave for the first half of this program, talk about our agenda. Today, the idea here that we're laying down is the opportunity. And there's another acronym in the real estate business, which is the BRRRR, which is to buy a property, rehab the property, then rent the property. And now once you have rehabbed it, you've improved the property's value, increased it from what you purchased it at. And we'll get into each component of that during this week. Then what you do after you have improved and upgraded the property so that the property's value is better, you now rent it and thereby create a cash flowing property, also increasing the value of your property. And then with that increased cash flow, qualify it so that it can become its own qualifier. And then you can now refinance the property. And we'll talk a little more in detail about that during the week. And then once you've done that, buy it, rehab it, rent it, refinance it. And then the final R, repeat, wash, rinse, and repeat. And that's the process there. And each time you can actually get a series of properties now generating more properties. So one of my friends likes to say, having the properties having babies, throwing off enough cash flow to buy more property. And eventually you'll have properties that you bought helping you to buy additional properties. In other words, having the babies having more babies. If you want a metaphor there. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and take a quick break. I got a whole bunch of other little topics that I want to share with you here. We got a very, very active week. Of course, we're going to continue to watch, obviously, some of the new headlines going on with what's going on with the moratorium. We'll keep you up to date with that. We'll talk about now available landlord applications for $850 million in rent relief out there. So you're not going to want to miss a single issue or edition of the Real Estate Show this week. You're listening to the Real Estate Show. That music means I'm coming in for a break. We'll be right back right after these words, so don't go away. So how are you there? We got a whole bunch of folks on the show today. Shayna, how are you? Sheila, Shayna, Simone. All the women in real estate start with an S. You think that's true? Then again, there's Jose out there. We've got hey, Cindy. Cindy says really with a C, but it sounds like an S, right? Adam and Andrea, Mateo. How do you like that? So how did you guys have a good weekend? The Olympics are now done. The moratorium is in place. What do you think? Smooth sailing or another topsy-turvy week? What do you think? See hear about the proposed amendment that to help protect affordable housing here in Florida? I'll tell you some good news. I don't think it's something. It might get blown out. Hey, Richard, how are you? It might get blown out as a potential negative, but I look at it as actually a positive. Inventory is in fact on the rise out there. So more inventory would be a more sustainable market. And of course, it'll also be a lot more opportunities out there, which we're going to be talking about this week. And hello and welcome back. For those of you just joining us here on The Real Estate Show, my name is Eric Willner, and I am your host here on The Real Estate Show, as I have been for the last 22 plus consecutive years, talking about real estate throughout the years, through up times, through down times, through flat markets, through the Great Recession, and even through the Great Pandemic. Lots of things change along the way. The fundamentals, however, stay the same. It's just that the approach to the fundamentals changes along the way. So you got to always be on top of your game here in real estate. Real estate has also evolved in a way that it's no longer the sole playing field amongst mom and pop individual owners. Over the last several years, particularly starting with the big market crash back in 2008, where you saw a lot of institutional buyers come in and large hedge funds formed for the purpose of buying properties. Today, you know them as Capstone, Blackstone, Invitation Homes, which is now the country's largest single-family home owner in the country. They recently announced that not only were they still continuing to grow their portfolio of tens of thousands of homes that they own, that one company, that they were now, because of such growing demand, which is really why I decided that this is what I wanted to focus on this week. Having focused last week on the moratoriums coming, going, lasting, renewing, extended. Now let's talk about the other side of the coin, and that is from the landlords. And by the way, this is one that I think that there is a three-sided coin when it comes to this conversation, right? You've got the tenants on one side of the coin, you've got the landlords on the other side of the coin, and then you've got the banks and lenders on the third side of the coin. So this conversation is a little bit more complicated and complex because of that. And that's why, like I said, we're going to talk a little bit this week, probably on Wednesday. We're going to talk more about the landlord applications now for what they estimate to be over $850 million in rent relief. And so how do you do that? Where do you do that? Well, those of you who texted the word discovery last week for our moratorium white paper, that's one way. And just to also give you, this week we're talking about the landlord's side of this equation. And for that, if you're interested in getting more information about becoming a landlord or how to strengthen your position as a landlord, then text the word landlord to 561-861-2366. Once again, that's 561-861-2366. And we're going to have this conversation throughout the entire week of what to do if you're a landlord right now. You're stuck in a situation. It's kind of interesting, and it's not just the amateurs. It's even some of the professionals that are in the field right now that have been juggling this battle. Sometimes it's an easy solution. Sometimes it's a little bit more protracted solution, and sometimes it's just an outright creative solution that has to be applied there. But that's why, like I said, Tuesdays, we're going to have our tools, tips, and techniques edition. We're going to talk about, getting in, staying in, surviving in the world of landlording. Wednesday is always our midweek report where we look around in the marketplace and what is the marketplace telling us about this very topic, about being a landlord. And that's where I think it comes in, talking about some of the resources and the relief that's available. Some of the actions that you can take, maybe some of the statistics. Sometimes it's just good to know that, it's not just you, and you're not alone. But in spite of all that, we'll talk a little bit about the market that's out there, the market for rentals, the market for properties to rent and for rent. And then that takes us to our Thursday show, which then we get into the conversation about the money. Thursday is traditionally our ATM edition of the real estate show. It's about the money. We're going to talk about a new little hot topic that you heard about it first 2 weeks ago, and now I'm starting to hear a little bit more chatter. So it's looking like it's going to happen. The rollout of the 40-year mortgage. And why does that matter? Well, if you can amortize a loan over 15, it's a higher payment. 30 years, it's a lower payment. A little bit higher interest rate, but it's a lower payment, which gives you a little bit more cushion, if you will. Now, a 40-year mortgage, well, it'll do the same thing. It'll stretch it out a little bit longer. The amortization gets spread out over more time. And so this may be very, very interesting, particularly when the topic in the marketplace now is becoming increasingly about affordability. So being able to get a lower payment means that you can buy more house or afford more house. And when it comes to being on the cusp of being able to afford a house, that may be the solution there. Now, there was at one time, there have existed 50, and there was conversation about a 100-year mortgage. And now you can imagine, if you've listened to us talk about how to accelerate your mortgage and how amortized mortgages behave, you know that amortized mortgages are basically front-ended or front-loaded with the interest. So in the initial payments is usually, three-quarters of it is interest, only one quarter of it might go to principal. And so obviously the longer you stretch it out, the more percentage is going to be interest in the beginning years. Anyway, so that's interesting. Freddie Mac, by the way, is rolling out a new lower cost renovation mortgage for rehabbing. So that's an interesting development from the conventional world, because usually you've had to go outside of the conventional world for these things. So the other things that are in the headlines is, what has been the reaction, or both psychological and physical to the extension of the moratorium. How does that affect and hurt first-time home buyers? And we're going to be talking about first-time home buyers. In fact, next week we have a first-time home buyer seminar. And tomorrow I'm going to be announcing the rest of the workshops that we have for the month of August. We've got some great workshops coming up this month that will be tons of great information. Our workshops so far, I can't guarantee it'll always be that way, but they're all absolutely for free. Right now, we're doing them all absolutely virtually. So if you want to learn more about real estate, you've come to the right place. And keep tuned here, because we'll be also releasing how you can go more in depth about first-time homebuyer programs. That's down payment assistance. Those are first-time homebuyer loan programs, which are a little bit easier to get and allow you to afford that entry-level home. And by the way, it's not just entry level, but your first home. And we talked a whole bunch. We spent the whole entire week, a couple of weeks back, just talking about the whole concept and definition of a first-time home buyer as someone who's not owned a home for over the last 3 years. That automatically qualifies you to be considered for these programs, which some of them are really actually very, very cool. On the other end of the spectrum, HUD program now helps older owners age in place. And that's an interesting program, showing because there are a lot of our baby boomers. We were expecting to see baby boomers selling off their homes, downsizing a lot, and we didn't. Obviously, that contributed to the inventory problem that we have, and of course, given the option, wouldn't you rather age in place in the home where you're most familiar, most comfortable, people, your way around, et cetera, et cetera. It's great in every single way. So that is some of the headlines on the one side. Now, more locally, kind of interesting, the outlook, and this is where we're going to spend more of our time this week. Outlook brightens for apartment landlords amid rising rents. And we talked about the Invitation Homes stuff. I'm seeing across the board, if you have good quality rental property, this is what's in high demand right now. And not just from the former renters in your area, but from renters outside of the area. And we've heard, and we've talked about it here on our show as well, lots and lots of stories about, how many people from Chicago, from New York, the big crowded cities are coming down. And the more that they're able to work remotely, and this is a great question to be asking right now with the rise in the Delta variant. And now I'm even hearing that there's a variant of the Delta variant that is increasing concern out there. A lot of places that were going back to work, maybe they won't, and the remote working will continue on further. Will that increase the demand in the Sun Belt states, namely here in Florida, for example? Not only for the Northeast and the Midwest big cities that are flooding the Sun Belt, but we're looking right now. The prediction is that lots of international buyers are heading this way as well. And as technology and remote working allows, where would you rather live than in one of the greatest, safest, fastest, strongest growing economies in the world than right here? And you're looking at the two states, our two favorite states, Florida and Texas, the two fastest growing states in the United States in terms of population, business, and a whole host of other reasons. So we'll get into that. And another reason why becoming a landlord in one of those states could be particularly interesting over the next 10 years. And I'm telling you, I'm talking about the next 10 years here. So most consumers are now very comfortable. This is an interesting headline that it goes right in line, especially with being a landlord. Now, there's really three ways that we're able to help. There's the do it yourself. Keep listening to the Real Estate Show. You're going to learn lots on how to do this yourself, but you can do it with us. We have coaching programs and consulting arrangements here that if you're interested in learning how to become a real estate investor, remember, text the word landlord to 561-861-2366, and then we'll reach out for that complimentary, no cost consultation. The first one is absolutely and always for free to get to know whether it's a right fit to move forward. And then the third way, of course, is the done for you. And you can ask more about that. Wouldn't you like to be an automatic landlord? So text the word landlord to 561-861-2366. That's 561-861-2366. And we're here. The music is in. That means it's time for us to wrap it up for today. But remember, we're back again 5 days a week, same time, same place as you are right now tomorrow. Until then, this is your host, Eric Willner, signing off. Drive safe, wash those hands, and make it a great day. Bye-bye. That's it.
We'll see you tomorrow.
All right, then. Thank you. Have a good night. Hey, Cindy, how are you? Let me go ahead and shut down the recording there on our YouTube stream and